Well, hello and thank you for joining me for another Alex on Tech and iTWireTV interview. Today I'm joined by Corey Smith, the Executive Client Partner of FICO Australia. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Alex. Great to catch up.
Thank you for taking the time. Now, Corey, could you please tell us a little bit about FICO before we move on?
Yeah, of course. So Alex, FICO is essentially the original fintech. The company was founded way back in 1956 by an engineer named Bill Fair and a mathematician by the name of Earl Isaac. Hence the full company name, Fair Isaac Corporation, or FICO. So those two founders had a vision, and that was that they could solve tough business problems through the use of computers and mathematics. And in essence, that is still the vision today. In 1958, Fair Isaac launched a global first, being a computer-generated three-digit credit score. And our dominance in the credit scoring domain still exists today, with the FICO score being the most trusted consumer credit score in the world. But Alex, credit scoring isn't the only first FICO's ever had. In fact, we're also the company that deployed the world's first commercialized use case of machine learning into our fraud prevention software, Falcon. And what Falcon does essentially is deploy advanced analytics that are able to run at real time to analyze each financial transaction a banking customer makes to assess whether the transaction is genuine or fraudulent. Now, if you fast forward to 2022, and FICO has over 10,000 customers globally, and we hold over 208 active patents for advanced analytic techniques, and the FICO platform is helping companies solve modern business problems around the world.
It definitely sounds like you were on the digital transformation train decades ago.
Absolutely.
And look, you mentioned Falcon just now, and I know that ANZ uses Falcon. Is that the same product?
Absolutely. That's a FICO product. ANZ have been fantastic users of that product for over 20 years, as well as many, many banks globally. I think we have over 8,000 Falcon customers. And ANZ were fortunate. They did a branding, contractual arrangement with us many, many years ago, and have really leveraged that. And it's positioned them as absolute leaders in the banking space in Australia and New Zealand from a fraud protection perspective. So yeah, very proud of the fact that they've continued to use that brand and continue to use that product so successfully.
Great. Now, can you please recap the FICO journey for us in this region in 2022 and the products and services that you offer to the Australian market?
Yeah, sure. So firstly, within Australia and New Zealand, FICO works with all four of the major Australian banks, the top three New Zealand banks, large financial institutions, as well as the majority of telcos and utilities. And what's really been gaining traction in the market is the FICO platform, which is a platform as a service solution offering for enterprise. And what it does is it allows our customers to operationalize advanced analytics and execute real-time decisions in the cloud. In addition to this, during 2022, we've delivered a number of fraud protection solutions, credit risk analytics and decisioning projects, digital communication platforms, as well as some very large transactional analytics solutions.
Sure. And can you give us some of your observations on industry trends in the banking and financial sector in Australia and New Zealand, as well as any predictions for 2023 and beyond?
Yeah, no problems. So I guess, Alex, as you know, the pandemic heavily restricted face-to-face engagement, which really accelerated the bank's focus on digitization and automation. Now, some of these investments by the banks, would have been quite visible to consumers, and others are driving back office efficiencies and reducing costs for the bank. But firstly, the banks really started investing heavily in technology and analytics to speed up the customer loan approval and onboarding process. They've increased the use of email and web-based self-service tools for customer service and collections. And they're also starting to leverage their vast amounts of data, and that's being transactional data, to really improve their ability to assess a customer's risk, help predict those customers that may face financial difficulty so they can engage with them early and support them, as well as to use that data to reduce lending application friction. And what I'd predict for 2023 would be that this pattern would largely continue. And I think what we'll do is we'll see a lot more use cases of leveraging that transactional analytics because there's a real focus on that, and there's a real focus on what we would call hyper-personalization. Now, hyper-personalization is essentially using data, decisioning, and machine learning technologies to ensure that every automated communication with a customer is heavily personalized and context sensitive. And that improves the customer experience, increases the customer's engagement with the bank. And this forms trust at a time where scams are rife in the community.
Sure. Now, what does this mean for technology designed for banks and other financial institutions and their tech requirements?
Yeah, good question. So I think what banks and other financial institutions really need to focus on is ensuring that the underlying decisioning and applied intelligence layer that underpins their CRM or their customer-facing assets has the capability to ingest the vast amounts of data that the bank holds, as well as external data, apply advanced analytic techniques and decisioning to that, and then action the output through digital channels. We've probably all had an experience with a bank, Alex, where you've banked with them for years and years. You finally go to apply for a credit card or a loan, and the bank treats you like they simply don't know you. Then you have to send them proof of income, bank statements, pay slips, outline your expenses, etc. Yet all of this information could be determined from your transaction data if the bank had the capability to mine that data, apply transactional analytic techniques, and extract the information. And not only would that speed up the process and create a better experience for the consumer and a faster process for the bank, a less costly process for the bank, but ultimately the data they capture would be more accurate and loan products could be issued within minutes, not days, with a lower level of risk.
Well, I mean, it's always the case that technology enables companies to improve, and we've seen all the neobanks, and we've seen lots of different organizations sort of try to gazump the banks who were originally stuck on decades-old technology, but clearly through technologies like yours and others, they've been able to catch up in a big way. And I mean, as you described, FICO is a provider of advanced analytics. So, what change has there been in terms of the ability to make use of the vast amounts of data that financial institutions have? I know you just described some of the ways just then, but there must be other ways that most of us are unaware of, but banks are now really implementing and taking full advantage of.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think there's a couple of things that have probably changed to allow this. The first one really is around computing power. Obviously, we're not dealing with the bedroom-sized computer that our founders had to use, way back when. Yeah. Now banks are really rapidly moving off their legacy, hosted solutions onto SaaS solutions. And SaaS solutions are really allowing the banks or the bank's technology partners, such as FICO, to scale up and scale down their computing power as required to execute really complex tasks. Whether that's large batch processes, model execution or scoring solutions. This is enabling the banks to have the power they need when they need it to execute those large, complex processes. And secondly, it's the analytics itself that's really shifted and moved. The models really need to be built in a way that can be operationalized at scale. And to do this takes years of experience, but also access to the best analytic techniques. And as I mentioned earlier, FICO holds over 208 active patents for fraud decisioning and AI and ML techniques, and have over 83 further patents pending. And it's these unique techniques that allows FICO to execute large volumes of analytical analysis over time quickly for a bank to execute.
So this is obviously advanced analytics, but are there any other examples of what this looks like in the real world? And is there an Australian example that you can give us?
Yeah, of course. All right, so let me give you a quick rundown of a project that we delivered earlier this year for one of the large Australian banks. So basically, the objective that the bank had was really to move to customer-level credit risk decisioning, leveraging machine learning techniques and leveraging the vast volumes of transaction data that they hold. Now, traditionally, the banks use scorecards to assess risk for a customer at a product level. So might be a credit card or a personal loan or a mortgage. However, if you think about it, if a customer misses their credit card repayment, but they've never missed a mortgage repayment, do you treat them as a high-risk customer? And do you put them down a collections path that subjects them to lots of phone calls and letters? Or do you, in balance, sort of identify that the customer, although late in their repayment, with the gentlest of digital reminders, will actually catch up on their obligations? So customer-level transaction data-driven credit risk scoring, which is a mouthful, but it really allows this bank to have a daily view of their customers' credit risk, and the benefits that they've already achieved and will achieve in the future are quite significant. So far, they've been able to increase their lending without increasing bad debt losses. And the scores also allow them to have a more tailored and collections and pre-collections communication with their customers, improving customer experience and reducing costs for the bank. And the return on investment for this sort of solution is in the hundreds of millions of dollars.
Well, and happier customers who are not so stressed by getting all these letters. I mean, this really illustrates the significance of this technology to Australians, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And what this really means for Australians is that, the banking relationship is going to become simpler. It's going to be more tailored to you, and it'll reduce the effort that you need to go to in the future to apply for a credit card or a loan. And what this also means is that in the future, the banks will also be able to be more proactive in their customer service to you. Identifying if you've lost a job, for example, reaching out to provide proactive assistance, or identifying if your expense to income ratio is shifting, and again, contacting you to find solutions to help reduce your debt commitments. So it really is, it's good for the banks, but it's really good for Australians.
I mean, usually you hear about people intensely disliking their utilities providers, electricity or telco or banks, whatever it might be. So it'll be good if technology can help people to love the utilities providers, love their banks.
Exactly.
So that would be a meaningful change to people, especially in these financially crazy times that we're in. The more that banks and individuals and companies can work together, the better and smoother it's going to be. We all want to have a soft landing, and nobody wants to be turfed out and, as you said before, getting all of these crazy letters. But are there examples overseas that we're yet to see implemented here that will again make a big difference to people's lives?
Yeah, good question. Look, I wouldn't say that there's sort of any techniques or solutions being deployed overseas that haven't made their way to Australia yet. But certainly what I would say is that, and what we've seen at FICO, is that some of our clients globally are probably a little bit more progressed in regards to their use cases of things like transactional analytics, as well as the use of what we call collaborative profiling. Now, collaborative profiling techniques, what they do is they develop personas, or what FICO calls archetypes, through the use of deep transactional data-driven analytics. And what it does is helps identify for the bank customers that have a high propensity to borrow, customers that might be vulnerable to scams or financial hardship, customers that are at risk perhaps of defaulting on their payments, as well as customers that could service increased credit limits. These profiles can then be used to hyper-personalize offers, provide support or education, as well as prevention solutions for the bank's customers, improving the customer experience and growing the bank.
So what else should we know about FICO that we haven't already discussed?
Look, I think we've probably covered a lot of what we're doing in the market, but I think something that's probably worth sharing with you, and something FICO is very proud of, is that we were very recently featured in the Chartis Risk Tech 100 Awards for 2023. If you're not familiar with the Chartis Risk Tech Awards, that publication is effectively the most comprehensive independent study of the world's major players in risk and compliance technology globally. And FICO was really pleased to have been awarded first place in 6 key areas, being innovation, artificial intelligence applications, financial crime for enterprise fraud, retail credit analytics, innovation in retail finance, as well as innovation for AI and decision management platforms, which is ultimately what the FICO platform is all about. So we think that's a great reflection of the value we provide our clients and the thought leadership that FICO brings to the market.
Now, as we get towards the end of the interview, I always like to change gears a little bit and just ask a couple of questions about you. And the first one I want to know is, can you please share a memory of your first computer all those years ago?
First computer, yeah, good one. So the first computer I ever had, I would have been in primary school, was a family computer my parents bought for us. It was an IBM 386 with, I think, 2 megabytes of RAM and a 40 megabyte hard drive that I remember the salesperson told my father, you would never need any more space than that, that 40 meg. And I had the 5 1/4 and a 3.5 inch floppy disk drives. We even had the old dot matrix printer connected up to that. They used to print on a continuous spool of paper. I had to sort of tear off carefully each page for my school projects. So, but look, that was amazing, getting a computer for the first time. And I used to sort of equally enjoy playing games on it, but also sort of getting right into the sort of basic programming, using DOS functions, creating batch files and scripts. So, it was really good.
Yeah, no, I remember my DOS days fondly as well. I had computers before DOS machines, but That definitely they were amazing days. And I've been traveling a little bit recently, and they're still using dot matrix printers in airports for some reason. I don't know why.
Is that right?
But you still see them, and they're it's got the spooled paper and they're dot matrix with the ribbon. I don't know why it's important for them to have it there, but they're still in use. The dot matrix printer's not dead yet. And and so my next question is, what's a little bit about your own personal history in the world of finance and tech?
My personal history. So, look, Alex, I started in the finance industry over 20 years now. I worked for a company called Dun & Bradstreet, who was also a very lengthy history and credit scoring on the business side. I worked in various roles as a business systems analyst, project manager, divisional IT manager in my time there, as well as strategy and operational roles. After I finished up at Dun & Bradstreet, I started my own credit and collections consultancy business. Very much a technical focus to that, and I worked on projects for major legal firms, banks, and finance companies. And after doing that for probably a year and a half, I was approached by FICO. They had a sort of a need in the market for someone with that sort of level of experience to spend time with their customers, providing consultancy and customer service. And so I started with them. Been there now for 4 years, and very much enjoying my time working with clients across Australia and New Zealand.
And so my second last question is to ask if you could please share some of the best advice you've received in life to help you get where you are today.
Best advice? Look, I'm not sure what the best advice I've ever received is, but I do quite like to reference the old famous Henry Ford quote, which is, if I'd asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses.
Yeah.
And what I really like about that is it really summarizes how constrained our thinking can often be. We're not going to solve the problems of the future with today's thinking. And I think that's what I love about working with FICO, because as a business, we're always looking to the future. We're always looking to try and help our clients solve problems that they don't even know exist yet, through software and analytics. And it really does also stem back to, the original founders of the business and the objective that they had.
So what is your final message to iTWire viewers and readers, and to your current and future customers and partners?
Look, what I'd say to your viewers and readers, and obviously leaders within industry and in IT, is focus on breaking down those product-based silos. Really move towards customer level decisioning, customer level of engagement across your business. From marketing all the way through to collections, and ensure that you've got a platform that can operationalize your intelligence. Through advanced decision making to machine learning, analytical models. That's really what's going to deliver the best business and customer outcomes.
Well, Corey Smith, Executive Client Partner at FICO Australia, thank you very much for your time. Best of luck with your financial and technological journey, and I do hope we can talk again in the future.
Absolutely, that would be fantastic. Thank you, Alex. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.